Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Welcome back to Snetterton Farm. This is episode number 9. We are in a brand new game day 11. This is the game day after game day number 10, obviously, but also the next game day from episode number 8, which we did a bit of mowing with the Big M. So we are going to kind of finish up tending to our animals here. I just wanted to kind of bring you in at this particular stage of the work here, just so that you can kind of see that I do take care of our animals and everything every about every 3 days, maybe every 2.5 days or so. I try to keep them from getting too low there on their food and stuff like that. Certainly do not want to have a situation where certainly do not want to have a situation like where we would have animals dying because again that's not good. So I think I can go 3 days. I think it gives them 3 days worth of food, and I think do it if I do it early enough on that third day, I think I'm okay. It's just that it does take a little while, and especially at playing at 15x speed, it takes probably 2 hours, I think, maybe 2 hours of 15x speed game time to basically feed the animals, and that's everything. That's watering, that's bringing down the food. These triggers are very tight, I'm telling you, on the water here. But anyway, I hope you all are having a really wonderful day, really wonderful day. In the real world, for me, this is the Sunday of the long Labor Day weekend. I did 2 episodes yesterday on Saturday. And, I think I told you all that I had some honeydew projects that my wife wanted me to try to finish. We started maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I started putting up crown molding in our family room, in our sort of breakfast. Well, it's really our dining. It's not our formal dining room. We have a formal dining room, oddly enough, but it's sort of well, I guess, lack of a better description, it's kind of our breakfast area. But it's where we eat most of our meals if we're actually not eating them in the family room in front of the TV. That does happen occasionally, depending on what all is going on. But anyway, put up the crown molding. Started that little project maybe what 3 months ago, something like that, and got most of the rooms completed. And then the only thing that I had left to do was the long hallway that kind of goes from our family room area down towards the garage, and then we have we kind of have a half bath down that direction as well. And so that was what we did. So anyway, I got on that and got that basically got that going and got that finished actually. So I don't know what else she has in mind as far as putting crown molding and where. I don't know if she's going to say let's do the upstairs at some point in time. She may do, and if she does, well then we'll just obviously have to obviously do that. So anyway, we're going to park this tractor up here. We're kind of done with it for right now, and we're going to we're going to kind of repeat ourselves just a little bit. We have done a milk run before. We are going to do another milk run just to get that done for today. And we like to sell our milk every 2 or 3 days, and we've got quite a bit of it. But we are also oops, let's see. There we go. We are also finished with our first level fertilization as well on all of our fields that we have been in the process of fertilizing and plowing. So our first level fertilization is done. So pretty much we are done with this Amazon fertilized spreader, I think, for right now, unless we decide to buy another field. And you might be saying, Jerry, why would you buy another field? You have quite a few here. I will tell you what my plans are, and let me just bring up the map, and we can kind of look at that. If you look down in the sort of the lower right-hand corner, down where our slurry and our produce cells are, and that's in the very far lower right-hand corner, southeast corner of the map. You see fields number 26. You see the dinosaur-shaped field number 25, number 24, etc. Maybe even number 29. What I was thinking about doing, maybe, and this is just maybe, I'm just thinking about it sort of right now at a kind of a high level, um, is that I'm sort of thinking that maybe I'll buy up one of those fields and maybe plant it in a cereal crop like wheat or barley, and that way we can get we can either we can get the straw off of it and just take that directly to the compost facility, or even just whole crop, just cut it whole crop for chaff, and maybe even dump that in the compost facility again to kind of keep that running, and you know, obviously that will be a little bit shorter distance to transport those kind of materials. But I don't know. It just really kind of depends on maybe a few different variables. First of all, I want to make certain that, you know, we can get all of the fields that we currently own at the present time. I want to make sure that we can get all those planted. But you know, it may make sense to kind of do it that way. Um, Obviously, we're going to have a lot of straw coming off of the fields that we do plant in our cereal crops. I'm still not sure, and maybe somebody can answer this question for me, because it has been a while since I have used these other fruit types, like, well, I don't know if I've ever planted triticale before, but I have planted rye, and I have planted oats before in FarmSim 15. I've not done any of those crop types in FarmSim 17 yet. So let's go ahead and fill this guy up here. We'll pull up just a little bit where our hose is not kinked and pinching. Obviously, this is not one of those no kink hoses like you see advertised on TV, which, by the way, I do own two of those ultra lightweight water hoses. I forget what they're called now, but they came out several years ago, and I avoided them for a year or two just because I didn't think that they would hold up very well. And they're great because they're super lightweight, and you know, they sort of shrink down to size when all the water comes out of them, and super great for a smaller yard, kind of like I have. Also great for like RV type use or boat use or stuff like that. But anyway, I don't know what the brand is, and this is not a plug necessarily for that, but I have used those. So back to those other crop types. Again, I don't know. Let's just bring up the map here, and you can tell me. These other types of like rye, millet, spelt, oats, will those produce straw if you select the harvester to leave the straw swath? Um, so I don't know. If you guys know for sure, maybe let me know. I'm thinking that it might, or at least oats. I mean, oats is sort of similar to wheat and barley, I think. But if not, if nobody knows, then we'll find out together once we get to that particular point in our gameplay, and that will be quite a while down the road. Obviously, before we get to that point, before we get to the point of harvesting. So we've got plenty of time, and if need be, I'll just maybe look to Google and see what Google will tell me. So yeah, so we're just gonna go and do this. So what I'm gonna do is just to kind of keep this episode, because I've got one more task that we're gonna do after this, and maybe you've seen something a little odd on the map if you've been sort of paying attention. So we will get to that task, and it will be something that we have not done to date, and kind of spoke about it a little bit yesterday. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and zoom our way down to the milk sell point, and I will meet you down there. So you wait for me, okay? All right, see you in a few seconds. All right, so here we are at our milk sell point. Now, something that was pointed out to me in the last episode, maybe it was the live stream that I did. I think I might have sold milk during the live stream. And, you've got two different ways of tipping your material. You've got the eye key, which will work, but it doesn't use the hose. So if you want the eye candy of basically seeing the hose stretched out from the trailer over to that little nozzle, hit the R key and you'll get that. So if I undo the R key and I do the I key, it pours out on the ground. The effect is the same, the result is the same. So if you remember and if you want the eye candy, hit the R key and it will do that. That way the immersion is a little bit more real when you do it with the R key versus the I key, because obviously selling our eggs, don't know, 2,000. Did we have $2,000 worth of eggs, or was that something else? Maybe so. Or is that still milk that's selling? I don't know. Anyway, we had quite a few eggs there that we've just sold. So that's good eye candy. I mean, I like the immersion. I like to, of course, I wish that things were. I wish the milk was actually in English instead of, I guess, German. But hey, I can. I can get away from that. But look at the gauge works. That's pretty cool. So we're down to 15,000 liters, it looks like, and still selling our milk right away. Um, but if it doesn't have the hose, or if the hose doesn't work or whatever, certainly that's okay. I don't, I understand what's happening. I understand maybe some of the limitations and stuff like that. But if you like the eye candy like I do, then yeah, go for the R key. R key will give you the hose, and see, it'll go away when it reappeared. I guess maybe I clipped into it or something. Weird. Anyway, we're almost done, almost emptied. All right, there we go. So $20,000 that we've made off that sell of milk. Good morning, ma'am. All right, we'll get back in our truck and we'll head back to the farm. I'm going to meet you back at the farm, and I'll see you there. All right, and we're back at the main farm. I dropped off the milk container back at the dairy so that you didn't have to watch me back that up and everything. All right, so we are going to do something a little different. Again, something that we have not yet done to date. I don't think I've spread any slurry in the time that I have been producing FarmSim 17 videos, unless it was maybe one of the contract jobs, one of the work for the other farmers kind of thing. So we're going to do that. Yesterday, you might remember that I was talking about a episode of a Country File on the BBC. It's a BBC program called Country File, and I know that my UK viewers will certainly know what I'm talking about. Maybe even some of my Canadian viewers as well, since they may or may not get that program on their BBC, and even though it may not be relative to what they've got, what they're doing and everything, they may have access to it, and then again they may not. We watch it through we have a VPN solution which allows us to view streaming content from the UK, so we can basically watch BBC and ITV. So my wife is pretty much a Midsummer Murder, and I will be honest, I enjoy those shows as well too. Cozy Murders is what she calls them. But yeah, she's an admirer or a viewer of those types of programs, and so we watch a lot of our content. We watch on BBC iPlayer or ITV, or also here in the U.S. if you have Amazon Prime. Acorn is an add-on channel for Amazon Prime that you can watch a lot of that material, a lot of that content. And so I encourage you that if you do enjoy that, to watch that. Anyway, there was an episode of Country File, and I talked about it. I talked about it in the last episode about how that there's a problem in the UK because of the fact that the dairies and milk production and everything is so popular. Everyone enjoys their milk in the UK, And as a result, with the increase in the dairies, and obviously the dairies needing pasture land and everything to graze their cows, as well as produce grass for hay needs and such, there is this runoff that these dairies obviously produce because of injecting or spreading or spraying slurry in the fields. And so that's becoming a little bit of a problem for these rivers and streams and other bodies of water and such like that. And so while we would not want to necessarily cause any sort of problems for our map, I figured that, you know, we would do things as realistic as we possibly could, in the fact that, you know, probably this particular stage on this particular grass meadow or hay meadow, and certainly some of the real life YouTube videos that I have seen, you know, I see a lot of these guys injecting slurry into the soil. And so that's what we're going to do here, and that's kind of what we're going to finish up our series or our play with here. We'll just go ahead and lower that down, and then turn this guy on and get on our course here and spread some slurry. And I don't know what sort of yield we'll get out of. I think it was like around 15 or 16,000 liters is what this tanker will hold. I've got another tanker that is staged out there with slurry, so we don't have to go all the way back to the dairy, even though the dairy is just right here. So the placement of this particular field is actually quite nice, Stevie. So thank you for that. So we'll raise up here, and I think what we'll do is, for the sake of making things a little easier for us, and try to avoid that curtain, that magic curtain that I call it. That magic curtain used to give me problems with lawfolds on that little hay and grass meadow that I used to cut on lawfolds quite a bit. It was very, very close to the edge of the map, and this is just an image, I guess, of trees and stuff. These trees are not cuttable or anything like that, but it's just an image to kind of keep you from peering off into the never land of the map. So that's what that is. Oops, our hedges. We'll just give ourselves a border here, and then we'll do our up and downs and see how that works out for us. But since we have a little bit of slurry left over, I did put some slurry down at the compost facility just to kind of keep our manure production going. And I figured that since we had a little bit left over from taking that down, I went ahead and just filled up our tanker out there, the black tanker. That's what we'll use if we need to fill this guy up again, and then we'll just continue to sort of rinse and repeat. So that other field is much smaller than this one, obviously. Now, of course, I did not. I don't think I fertilized these fields at all before we mowed them. So the yield, I was thinking about that last night. You know, I do sometimes, as I'm trying to drift away to sleep and everything, after I say my nightly prayers and everything, I may often think about things. I may think about farm sim. I may think about some of the tasks that either I need to do, or I did, or I may think about some content that I've put together for you guys on video. And it doesn't, trust me, it's not keeping me awake at night. It's just that oftentimes it's quiet enough, and I can kind of reflect just a little bit on this stuff. And so I was thinking last night, okay, don't remember fertilizing the grass before we cut it. So I'm sure that's why, if you guys at home were thinking, Well, the yield would have been higher, Jerry, if you would have fertilized those 2 fields, and that is very, very true. It would have been, but we're doing it now, and that's okay. We've got, I think we're going to have more than enough grass on our map to do what we need to do, and I'm not concerned about it at all. I don't think. As we go behind the magic curtain, once again, my apologies for that. Just do kind of every other row and try to get the coverage as good as we possibly can get it. But yeah, kind of back to the country file episode and the concerns that the UK have for the dairy industry and such, and the whole slurry thing is that because they're doing it so much such great numbers, and there's this runoff, there's this problem of it getting into the lakes and streams, and it's causing the fisheries and people like that to be concerned. Not sure what the alternatives are. That the program, if I can remember, it really didn't go into a lot of detail as to what they're going to do to try to prevent this from happening. They recognize it's a problem, but they also recognize the fact that the British citizens love their milk, and in order to have milk, well, you need dairies, and in order to keep your cows healthy and keep the milk production to be what everybody expects it to be or wants it to be, to have all of that goodness of milk, then obviously you need to do the things that help to feed the cows, and obviously putting the nutrients into the soils and everything is what you do. So it's I guess it's one of those, darned if you do, darned if you don't type of situations. If you don't, oops, and we're out of magic black gold here, so let's go and fill up. I wasn't paying attention. I was sitting here rattling on talking, wasn't paying attention. No hoses, at least I don't know of a way to get the hoses to work. I don't know if the overloader pipe really functions on these tankers or not, so you just kind of have to envision that we're actually pumping the slurry out of the tank, out of the black one, since we don't have a tractor running the PTO there. I think it's okay. I think that, sometimes if we can get the immersion to work in the way that we want it to, it's fantastic. Otherwise, sometimes we just have to kind of close our eyes and say, well, it's as good as we can possibly get it. Now, I know that we are possibly damaging a portion of our field, some of our field, driving a tractor such as this, pulling a tip or pulling a slurry injection system such as this across the field, the whole crop destruction stuff. But like I said, in the videos that I have watched of real life farming, especially UK farming, this is how they're doing it. They're either doing it with a slurry tanker like this, or they have the ability through the long hoses and such, but they're still driving a tractor that, they're not, it's just got standard tires on it. They're not necessarily worrying about row crop tires and such, because I really think at the end of the day, for a grass field such as this, especially after we've just cut it like we did yesterday, there's not going to be a whole lot of destruction. There would be some, of course, because we are driving a very heavy tractor pulling a very heavy sprayer apparatus that's full of slurry, so there would be some damage possibly. But I think that much like your own front yard, if you accidentally drive over it, or something sets out there, maybe you've had something delivered and maybe some bags of fertilizer or something, and they've stacked it in your yard, as long as it doesn't stay there for a long time, it's going to be okay. It's going to heal. Your grass is going to survive it's going to be all right. So I think that's kind of what we're going to be thinking about here in this application. Now, obviously, we take advantage of our sprayers with our row crop tires when it comes to actually driving through the fields. And of course, that is a little bit unrealistic in the way that it is sort of portrayed within the game. Maybe, you know, we want to actually utilize and put in tram lines, but you know, tram lines are, and I have played around with the whole the seed mod. I can't think of the name of it right now. I've tried to play around with that puts the tram lines in at the time that you're actually seeding, which is realistic, because obviously if you're gonna put tram lines into your field, or let me back up. If you're gonna drive through your field to fertilize, spray, whatever, then obviously you would want to go ahead and seed and leave those gaps as best as possible without the tram lines, because obviously that is saving you on fertilizer and seed that you aren't going to be wasting as a result of those areas. I've played around with that mod, and again, it escapes me right now the name of it, and I'm bad with that. I'm bad with names, and I'm bad with, you know, trying to think of things on the fly, so that's just my own fault. But anyway, I can't think of it, but nonetheless, I know what it is, and I just can't think of the name. But I've tried to play around with it and try to, you know, figure out how best to use it, and sort of at the end of the day, kind of where I am with, you know, with how I like to do things. I figure that we'll just do our fertilizing and our seeding and everything sort of the way that I typically do it, and then we'll just spray with the self-propelled sprayer, which has the row crop tires on it, which, you know, we won't be creating tram lines, but we also won't be destroying our crops either. So so hopefully we can get, maybe we can get, I'll back up here so we may avoid driving through the curtain there. Maybe we can get this field sprayed without having to fill up again. We will see. That black tanker holds 30,000 liters of black gold. And so we do, the other field down there is a little bit smaller, as you can remember from yesterday's episode. And so we'll see what happens. Now, of course, I don't. Our grass fields, I believe they are already at 100% fertilization. So we won't have to necessarily worry about spraying those or fertilizing those before they are harvestable. So once we harvest, we'll take a look at it. Most likely, we will spray those with the self-propelled sprayer. Like we might have done. I think I did that. I think I did that in one of the previous 2 episodes. I think we had Billy Bob or Jack spraying that. So that's what we'll use for that, because obviously this would be kind of a slow process in trying to do that. And this is going to be very, very close if we actually can get this done out of here. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're pretty much running on fumes here. We're down to the final little bit, and no, I don't think we're gonna make it. All right, not gonna make it. I suppose we should have filled up when we were up here on this end of the field, but we did not. That's okay. I like showing you guys different things. You know, I like doing different things as well. Now, whether we repeat this, you know, may never use this slurry spreader or sprayer again, because really and truthfully, to be honest, any other fields that we would choose, maybe with the exception of like the field right to our right or some of the smaller fields down like say 14, 15, 16, where Billy Bob is supposed to be down there plowing, and it looks like he's stopped. But those fields might be small or small enough for this particular um, machine, and maybe we are out of slurry in our tanker there, so not a problem. It's kind of getting dark as well, so we will probably just finish this up, and then that will wrap this episode up as well. Anyway, so we may not do any more slurry spreading, spraying, injecting, whatever, however you want to refer to it, however you want to call it. May not do that in any additional episodes. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead and finish up the other field down there. I will refill this up and go down there and do that off camera, just so that it is fertilized, because I want it to be fertilized. That's important to get the yields and everything the way that we want them to be, because that means more grass, and it's either more money or obviously it's more productivity to our animals and everything. It doesn't really cost us to spray manure. That's also a benefit to using either manure, solid manure, or liquid manure, slurry. Is our costs and everything it's essentially free. I mean, obviously you have costs in maintaining your cows and that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, the fertilizer or the whatever the process of that is relatively free. Because anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to end this episode right here. I'm just going to say thank you all so much for watching. Oh, I need to give you the word of the day. The word of the day is slurry. Slurry is the word of the day. My apologies for waiting until the very end. Shame on Jerry. My apologies. The word of the day is slurry. I'll tell you all more about that in the next episode. I did explain the contest and everything in episode number 8, so if you want to go back and listen to that, you can get more details as to what the giveaway and everything is. I've kind of left that to the last minute, and I don't want to keep you all, because I do mention that quite routinely. Anyway, the word of the day is slurry. Thank you all so much for watching. Please take care of yourself and each other, and please come back and watch another episode of the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, Snetterton Farm here. I appreciate it. Take care, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.